Greetings and welcome back to Haftarot, the weekly video cast in which we take a look at the upcoming week's Haftara, understand its basic message and its connection to that week's Parasha. My name is Yitzchak Etshalom, and I'm delighted to be taking a look with you at the Haftara for this week's Parashat Tetzave. Now, this is a most unusual occurrence because normally in a regular year, in a non-leap year, Parashat Tetzave is Shabbat Zachor. But of course, Purim is this Friday. And so Parashat Zachor was read this past Shabbat, as we discussed in the last video cast. And so therefore, we have the recess Shabbat. We'll talk about that in a minute. And therefore, this week, we read the regular Haftara for Tetzave, which is regular, but it's not that common. What is a recess Shabbat? So we use Purim colors here to kind of illustrate the code, which is Zabadu. Zabadu is a fun word to say, and Zabadu is really even more fun. Zatu bo dad ubayu. Now, what are all these weird words? So a couple of weeks ago, we looked at this Mishnah over here in Masachet Megillah that detailed the four parashot. The four parashot, Rosh Chodesh Adar, or the Shabbat before Rosh Chodesh Adar, we read Shkalim. The Shabbat before Purim, we read Zachor. The Shabbat before HaChodesh, we read Para. The Shabbat afterwards, we read HaChodesh, and that's either Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, or the one before Shabbat, before Rosh Chodesh Nisan. However, in every year of the four Shabbatot where we have special readings, they can't all be contiguous. There's going to be some Shabbat that's a break Shabbat, a recess Shabbat, if you will. And the Tur, Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim, the son of the Rosh, in the 13th century in Spain, in his great composition, gave the following siman. And the siman is Zabadu. You could see it right here. And Zabadu stands for Zatu Bo Dad Ubiyu. What is that? So he explains. Zabadu, the four letters, stand for Zatu and Bo and Dad and Ubiyu. Of course, it sounds silly. So what is it? So Zatu is if Rosh Chodesh Adar falls out on Zion, Shabbat, like it did this year, then Tetzave, the 15th, which is this coming Shabbat, is the break Shabbat, the recess. If, on the other hand, Rosh Chodesh Adar falls out on Bo, then Vav Adar is the break, because we read the Shabbat before Rosh Chodesh, and then 2 days later it's Rosh Chodesh on Monday. The next Shabbat is too far away from Purim to read Zachor, so we take a break, and they read Zachor, Para, Chodesh in order. Dad, same thing. If Rosh Chodesh Adar is on a Wednesday, then that coming Shabbat is the break Shabbat. And then Ubiyu is even more interesting. When Rosh Chodesh Adar is on a Friday, meaning the first of Adar is on a Friday, not like this year, like it was a couple of years ago, then we take a break the next day, Bet, and Yud Vav, the 16th, meaning we read on Shabbat. It's a whole almost week until Rosh Chodesh. Friday's Rosh Chodesh. Then we take a break that next day, and then we read the next week Zachor, and then and Purim in that case is on a Thursday, and then 2 days later on the 16th we take another break and Para, and that's Zatu Bo Dad Ubiyu, and the short version of that strange incantation is Zabadu. Okay. In the meantime, we have a chance to look at our regular Haftara. And our regular Haftara this week in Parashat Tetzave is from a section of Yechezkel. We've already seen Yechezkel a number of times in Haftara, both in Sefer Bereshit and in Sefer Shemot. Yechezkel, the last 9 chapters of Yechezkel, from Perek Mem until Mem Chet, are Yechezkel's vision of a future Beit HaMikdash and a return to the land of Israel. Remember, Yechezkel's prophecy happens in Bavel, in exile, during and after the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. And this vision describes special korbanot that are brought, and a division of the land, and the role of the leaders of the community and leaders of the nation. And here you have a description of what the house itself looks like. Why is this appropriate for Parashat Tetzave? Because Tetzave completes what we started last week in Parashat Truma. In Parashat Truma, the description of how to construct the Mishkan, the sanctuary, is presented, but it's not completed. In Parashat Tetzave, 3 things happen. The first thing is that the clothes of the Kohanim, the special garments of the Kohanim are presented. That's followed by the special ceremony that the Kohanim are going to undergo to become sanctified. And it's followed by some of the last appurtenances of the Mishkan, including the Mizbach HaKtoret, the special small golden Mizbeach that goes inside the Beit HaMikdash, on which the incense is burnt. And that's the end of the Parashat. The description of the Mishkan is completed in Parashat Ki Tisa, which is next week, but we'll leave that for next week. So in the meantime, over the course of these few minutes, we've had a chance to look at Zabadu, Zatu Bodad Ubiu, to look at the special prophecy of Yechezkel and see how it ties in, and to see how this year is something of an unusual year, which will always happen when we have the very unusual occurrence of falling on Friday. And of course, that means that Pesach will start on Motzei Shabbat. But we'll talk about that a little bit later in the series. In the meantime, everybody should have a wonderful, wonderful Shabbat and a very festive Purim before that.